All right, I guess we're live. So, usual routine. Gotta wait a minute or two, or I can be serious. So I have to see if it's working. All right, I guess we're live. There it goes. So it's working. And pop out the old chat. And of course, it goes to the wrong location, and I have to move it, and then I have to get my window back, and then I have to move that. And then we'll be saying, I think that's good enough. All right. So we do have a chat statement early. I have to get to comments, so I can't do chat statements too. But anyway, clearly it seems another troll, right? Nice. Miles Mathis seems to be upping the professionalism. So why would he say Miles Mathis? He would say, hey, Miles, how are you, or something. With the time shows, you should do Patreon. So I've also pointed out why Patreon is a horrible waste of money, that anybody with a brain shouldn't need to be told how to do a time payment with PayPal. You don't need the Patreon thing. It's completely superfluous to any function. They just steal some of the money. It's like just throwing money away. Stupid people do that. So I would have to think my audience is stupid to do Patreon. And yes, some of them are stupid, but it's only because they're so insane that they have to be a little bit stupid because they have so much insanity taking up their brain space. Unfortunately, some of that revealed in the comments, of course. So hello, Homo sapiens. You seem to be catching on here. You're actually becoming friendly. Nice. So anyway, so I'll do some comments and, switch between whatever needs my attention. So Ingrid says she doesn't know, Gary, what spin is inside an electron. So I don't even know what that means. Clearly, she's not committed to any definitions of anything or any descriptions. She's like sort of, okay, that maybe could be true. Well, maybe not. I mean, she's completely uncommitted to a model. And the whole idea of spin, obviously, in quantum mechanical terms, doesn't necessarily have to do with anything spinning. And again, I would argue that spin, like ether, starts to just be some sort of unaccountable mechanism. You have to gain spin from something. You can't just manifest spin. So it just doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to me to play with the word. And what they really mean by spin is they mean angular momentum. So they're using the word spin to replace the concept of moving at an angle in a direction. All right, then the Homo sapien guy, from same one, I imagine, says, great video. He got that right. It was pretty good. All right, it wasn't great. It was pretty good because I did make a couple of errors that I can sort of like, oh, shit, I wish I said that better. Really made things clear in my head. Just one question, sorry if it's been asked before. When the red force bit hits a black matter bit, or when a black matter bit hits the red, or when a red force bit hits a black matter bit, or vice versa, of course, what determines which way the force bit will go? That means left or right, but also up and down. So, I mean, it can go 4 facets or 2 different dimensions. The only 2 choices it can't do are the forward back. You can go up, down, and left, right. Okay, anyway, it's not random, right? Not entirely, but in a sense, yes, some of the time. So it really depends on what force it's traveling through. So if it's traveling through equal force, so if I have equal forces coming at me this way and this way, I'm still in the video, right? Yeah. I had to think, really, do I have to switch? No. If there's equal force coming this way and this way and this way and this way, and I'm traveling through it, or I'm stationary, it just doesn't really matter, and a force bit hits me in the direction I'm moving or in this other direction that we're talking about, what's going to determine which way it goes is going to be the laws of probability, and those are going to be dictated by how much force is affecting me, if there's any imbalances. If there's no imbalances, then it will be random in the sense that we're basically talking about the black bit being able to intersect with a red bit, and the 2 of them will exchange direction. So in a sense, we're talking about whatever happens to hit it. So if one hits it from this direction, this direction, this direction, or this direction, well, I used left, right, and up and down. So whatever one happens to hit it is the one that'll decide which way it goes. So in that sense, it's random based on what the field circumstance is. And the more energy coming from a direction, though, then the more likely the exchange will be from that direction, and the more likely the energy will leave in that direction. Okay, I think that answers the question mostly. You must admit Looking Glass Universe is pretty sweet voice, though. Has a pretty sweet voice. Yes, it is sort of adorable and such. If a black force bit hits a black electron, it gets absorbed. No, the force bit reflects in that in the sense that force goes back, so it exchanges this for this. So you could think of the matter bit gives away this, and it keeps this part, but it gives back this part. Yeah. Until it decelerates, where it gives back the force bit perpendicular. Okay. Yeah. Didn't I miss something? Oh, the harp guy. So this harp guy quotes a whole big text from where I'm talking about her wacky theory. And so I'm saying something like, so they're only using these different numbers of spin by calling those are different particles. So when she changed in the equation the spin numbers from 3/4 to 1/4, my argument is that she wasn't talking about electrons anymore. She was talking about different particles of different spin, because you can't make a quarter spin electron. It's now something else. It's a muon, or it's a puon, a zuon. It's some other kind of puon thingy. Anyway, what would have a different tendency to go one way or another, blah, blah, blah. So he just quotes this big wad of text from what I said, and then he says, K. Now, couldn't you say that to anything she said in the video? I mean, just about every paragraph or sentence she described in that video, you could almost say, okay, whatever. Couldn't you? Yeah, you could. So you're just being a cunt. So why don't you do that K stuff to her video? Because I'm sure you don't have answers to her questions. I'm sure you don't know exactly what the fuck she was talking about. Jerk. Yeah, so anyway, obviously a conspiracy theory person or something, Harp, who calls themselves Harp. He says worried about the Tesla waves traveling through the earth and shit. Another kook. All right. For your experiment, you might find building a small DR stiffer second exciter or cell exciter. So this is more Tesla crap. I don't need to create a high frequency generating. I don't need to generate a bunch of high frequencies. I just need to generate a frequency. See how to put this. And it doesn't have to light a light bulb. It just has to have enough current for an antenna to pick it up. So, I mean, in a sense, it is like one of those Tesla coils. It's just that I don't need to crank it up. I don't need to send megavolts through it. You know what I mean? I don't need to dim the lights in the house. Let's see. It can light LEDs and neons from a distance. Yeah, like 2 feet. We're talking about an experiment that has to take place over 40 feet. So you should be able to get a voltage. Like I said, getting a voltage won't be too big of a problem. It's just the idea that to transmit at that high kilowatts, well, I won't be using kilowatts. I'll be using hundreds of watts, or less than that, 50 watts. It's still going to be a signal that the FCC wouldn't appreciate me transmitting. You can build it from old parts if you have technology lying around, or people sell kits. Yeah, well, again, yeah, I mean, yes, I have to make a transmitter, yes. Oscilloscopes have come down in price too, still not cheap, but the ones for PC more So I don't know what it means, whether the ones for a PC have gone down in price more, but I don't know. Or those are the more expensive ones. I don't know.
Could be a new post.
Such nonsense. New,
such
more rubbish. Fucking lunatics on the internet. Anyway, still not cheap, but the ones, the PC kit version called D something 50 for $30 Craigslist in your area might have better choices, though. Well, I don't. Craigslist is just going to have like a 1946 shitaronic, you know. I don't think I want to buy a 5,000 watt 70-year-old oscilloscope. But anyway, appreciate the help. All right, so Scar Runner, who I'm just not sure of. Oh, shoot, I missed it again. Okay, so close to. Well, anyway, what about the continuum hypothesis, question mark? Like I'm supposed to know what the fuck that is. So anyway, and then I went researched it a little bit, and it's just nonsense. There is this related video doing the hypothesis in real time right here, and all it is one of those life things, you know, where they just punch in some fractal kind of information about reactions and actions, and it turns into a little life gamey thing, and it's not terribly interesting. The problem takes change and synthesis, new recursions. What do you think? Well, I don't think there's any point in doing simulations that don't have anything to do with energy in and energy out. The system should require, like if you're going to make a life game, you should require the organism to eat first before it can produce babies and all that kind of stuff. Everything has to be done in some sort of order. So I don't see any point in that mush. All right, now this unsub surf guy is surf or whatever is, you know, gone over the deep end. So, you know, just the glaring hypocrisy. So he posted an earlier comment where he's talking about how he'll run distraction for me at MIT and, you know, take out the security, and so I can do a little acting up and blah, 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 you know. So he's all for the theory and he's all for me. And so somewhere he got pissed off, you know, personally offended by something. And so now he's all butthurt. And so now everything I say is shit. So it's just a typical hypocrisy. You know, 1 minute you think I'm brilliant, next minute you think I'm shit. And apparently you do that because I don't say hello to you. I mean, it's just irrational nonsense. So anyway, I'll just read some of this crap. Look, there's a lot of people who, for whatever reason, they gravitate towards me because, for some reason, and they're all lunatics. And clearly I'm a lunatic. I mean, I have had psychotic moments in my past, but I have learned, even though I'm still psychotic, how to imitate not psychotic. Now, clearly there's some evidence that I haven't learned that entirely all that well, but the truth is I can pretend to be reasonable. And that's the difference between me and you people, is that you can't pretend very well. And, you know, and I have empathy for your condition. I have empathy for the fact that you're nuts. But frankly, I'm trying to get something accomplished, and I can't waste too much time playing with, you know, people who have problems. You got to fix your own problems. I can't fix them for you. All right. I highly doubt you did that. So I think that has something to do with demonstrating that the whole Einstein thing is bullshit, and there's nothing about time dilation. It's just a relationship. The real math just has a relationship between velocity and breaking clocks. And that's all there is. And I am watch all your dumbass videos. And now my videos are dumbass. So 1 minute he wants to, you know, fight to get me to an MIT professor. And the next minute it's dumbass. It's stupid. You know, real world experiment. There is no such thing. Not theoretical. So there's no real world experiments demonstrating anything related to anything other than a relationship between velocity and clocks breaking. There's evidence of nothing else. There's no evidence of dimensions warping. Just like you tear apart everyone else, you do nothing but tear down other people's ideas. Well, I don't tear down ideas that are reasonable and rational. I just tear down the ones that can be demonstrated to be ass shit, bullshit pulled out of asses. And ambition, whatever that is, ambitionism, put people down, discourage their efforts. Again, I don't know who I'm discouraging, clunky. I'm fighting with the conventional authority. All right, one man, David, against the Goliath, the monster. You can metaphor it any other way you want to, but that's how I see it. All right, and you're not helping any. You're a black hole of negativity. Great, fantastic. Because guess what? Negativity is what the universe is actually made out of. Okay, there is no positivity force. There's just the negativity force and the absence of it. Take quantum physics, Hawking radiation. Another, like I said, is bullshit. There's no evidence that it exists, that it ever farts out of black holes or any of this shit happens. Absolutely zero evidence. Even the stupid Indian dude, Feynman equations mixed with geometry, I don't know what this even means, and M-string theory over your theory. So apparently he's just saying you take any of that crap over my theory that he was going to be a freedom fighter for. So one day he's fighting for the theory, the next day he hates the theory and it's rubbish. That's only applicable to the Earth gravity. I don't even know what that means. So again, drifting off into nowhere land. Gravitational waves were proven. So here we go. So proven with what theoretical physics? An interferometer I've demonstrated to be not capable of doing what they say it's capable of, plus a theory of energy distribution that does something that Einstein never claimed you could do. That is, you can convert matter into bent space. And there's no evidence you can do that either. All right, neutron stars were proven. So again, he thinks all this stuff was proven by some big pile of evidence, and there's absolutely nothing but theory. There is a cosmic microwave background. Well, I never denied that, did I? No, I didn't, retard, liar, asshole. Niels Bohr discovered the atom easy. So again, he made up the atom. He didn't discover it. He made it up. And it could be fundamentally and entirely a wrong description. Again, no evidence, no proof, nothing established as a fact. Yet you're just going to assert it now because you're mad at me. To talk behind the computer, I was dead serious about that MIT thing. Well, again, I wasn't. And even if I could go to MIT, which I can't, but even if I could, I would never use that kind of tactic. I would never be an act upper, okay? It's not my style. I don't want to cheat to get somewhere. I want a fair fucking fight, all right? I'm not a heckler, asshole, and I'm not a heckler from even my own physics, douchebag. And your assumption that I would be one, that I would be willing to cheat, to be a graffiti artist. No, I'm not willing to be one of those. If you wanted to get it out there and really be challenged, you would do it. Yeah, right. I've gotten Brian Cox and Lawrence Krauss to answer me. By what? Heckling them? Harassing them? Threatening them? By what tactic? I don't think you did it by any honest means, because by honest means, they're not going to bother with you. So in what way do you ever get them to answer you? I'd be interested. Crank calls? What did you do? How did you harass them into paying attention to you? To answer me, you have to find the right setting and put in the work. All those dudes literally frequent Harvard, Massachusetts, because all the MIT grads will have definitely did it, but instead you always joking and you stay with your negativity, whatever, just go away. Yes, I highly doubt you talk people like that in person. I talk the same way everywhere. Seems to be more like your artistic mentality, depressed, autistic, he says, and regret not reproducing. Again, a bizarre statement to make. I mean, I couldn't be happier that I produced no liabilities. And seek to take your vengeance against meaning itself, or whatever, fuckface. Just fuck off. I mean, really, just too fucking retarded. But anyway, this is what my audience is essentially made out of, is these, you know, broken people. And they think they're helping. Sorry, it's not helping. So anyway, there, I think I'm done. All right, just wanted to, you know, take care of the comments while I was here. Yeah, while I was here. Okay, so if black force hits black electron, it gets absorbed. Yes, I already answered that. Let's see, how does it emit the black force bit? Again, I don't know what you mean by how does one reflect? You don't know what a reflection looks like? The little ball hits it, like a ping pong ball hits a tennis ball, it bounces off. There, that's the reflection. And the tennis ball moves a little bit this direction. How does it emit the black force bit? Okay, what is the electron? The electron is a monopole of magnetism. The electron, the proton. So they essentially filter force. So the electron, when the black force hits it, it reflects off of it. When the red force hits it, it leaves perpendicularly. Vice versa for the proton. That's what they are. They're two different opposite filters. Okay. What frequency are you planning on transmitting at? Just really doesn't matter. 20 kilohertz would probably be enough. I just have to, all I need is to do it at like 50 watts. I just have to have enough energy so I can pick up the energy on the antenna. So it has to be enough wattage for me to pick up the electric differential on the antenna. And so, because I'm not tuning to it, so I don't really care. So I think I could do it at 20,000 hertz would do it. Talk physics. What does that even mean? Is nice explained. I don't know what that means either. Always a little bit suspect when the Mohammed name shows up. Talk physics is nice explained. Okay, whatever. Is not very good translating. Yeah, the translator sucky. Oh dear, what is this? Lunatics Unite. No, I'm not too interested in uniting with lunatics. They just go in all kinds of directions. Very bad army. In Mendham, I'm not really in Mendham here, Mr. Draft Science, sir. In Mendham, if you are going OBS, using, might I suggest? No, there's no point in suggesting because there's absolutely nothing I can fix. OBS doesn't do. OBS works very well, but it doesn't let you configure anything. Might I suggest when you review external comments that you add a layer screen to the side that the that the casting of whatever your window screen is. No, I'm not using OBS when I'm doing these live rooms. I would probably like to, but then you can't get people into the room. So if I stream this to YouTube as a event where I can add people, then I can't stream it, if you get my drift. But look, I only have so much computer anyway, so it's pushing my luck to think I could get everything, all that shit to work anyway. But the point is, I want to actually solicit real participants into this room eventually. So I want to have the ability to let somebody else in the room. You said that if an electron, again, if somebody wishes to join the room, just ask for the link. But of course, you have to be somebody who's not a troll. So anyway. All right, you said that if an electron decelerated, it emits black bits. Yes, it emits the force that moves electrons. So there's always a voltage pushing an electron. Electrons don't move unless there's a voltage, a change in the potential. And that means that magnetism is essentially voltage, even though it's not called that, but it sort of is. So electrons only move in a voltage. And the point is they only move by the pressure constantly hitting them. Force has to keep hitting them. As soon as you turn the voltage off, the electron stops moving. Not as soon as, but very soon after you stop the voltage, the electron stops. So the point is that when you're accelerating it, okay, you're absorbing the little black arrows. You're absorbing the flame, the equal but opposite reaction of the reflection is this. So you're absorbing something. When you decelerate, that is when you stop, the field energy is coming in from the sides, and it's basically going to wipe out this unevenness. You have more stuff going this way than this way. It's basically going to turn it back to 50-50, and then you're going to stop moving. And when it's turning it back to 50-50, what it's doing is releasing the force this way and this way. So yes, the force leaves perpendicularly through the deceleration. You said that an electron decelerated emits black bits, right? Perpendicularly to the motion of its acceleration. I'm confused. Why are the bits black? What makes up the color? Well, there's only two colors, and it's always, you have to always give back whatever you consume. So if you consume something, if you consume extra stuff going one way in a particular color, you have to give it back somewhere eventually. And the point is you're just giving it back perpendicularly. All right. I'm confused. Why are the black bits? What makes the color? Look, the color is just used to describe two different functional objects. So it's just to say protons filter one kind of thing, triangle. Black bit, electrons filter for round things. It's square hole, round hole. It's up, it's down. It's perpendicular, it's this way. It's just a reference to identify the two things are different in an opposite way. Like this. Or like round and square. They're just fundamentally different, and so they're filtering for that difference. I can't tell you what the fundamental difference is. It's too tiny a thing to be able to tell you what it is. I'm not going to have a videotape of the difference. I've suggested that the difference is the universe is a lattice of geometry going into 3 dimensions, this way, and this way. And that there's 2 phases to the universe. That is, there's 2 levels. There's like the red and black squares on a checkerboard. They don't intersect. And it's inside the matter bit that the 2 can intersect. But they can't hit each other except for in the matter bit. So that's the nature of the color reference. One's just representing odd squares and one's representing even squares, or however you want to do it, but they end up black and red just makes it obvious, like a checkerboard. Okay. They're not really black. He uses an analogy for difference. Yes, thank you. When the black bits hits an electron, wouldn't it have to lose some of its? No, there's no losing anything. Kinetic. When 2 kinetic balls hit each other, theoretically all the energy creates the reflections. So there's no loss of anything. Nothing can partially give up anything. It's all or nothing. And so you either absorb something or you don't absorb it. You reflect something or you don't reflect it. But there's no half hitting things, or there's no way to give 2 energies or any of that kind of crap. A reflection is an absorption. A reflection means that this went inside of this thing, and this thing gave back the equal but opposite reaction of this. So that's the equal. This came in, this came out, this stayed in. That's the conservation. All right. When the black bit hits an electron, wouldn't it have to lose some? Yeah. So you can't lose kinetic energy. You can't. It's like these 2 things could hit on perpendicularly. The black bit goes this way, the red bit goes this way. Nothing lost any energy, but this thing's direction was changed. It was going this way, Now it's going this way. This was going this way. This was going this way, and now it's going this way. Technically, the energy used to do this was the energy that did this, and the energy that did this was used to do this. You know what I'm saying? They're just, there's no energy is lost. Kinetic. All right. For an electron to emit a black force bit perpendicularly, it would presumably bounce off of a black matter bit. The electron are black matter bits. So I don't know what you're talking about. But yes, eventually it could hit another electron. That's why inside of atoms it gets really complicated, because there's black bit, red bit, black bit, red bit, you know, in arrangements. And so anything that happens to black bit, like red bit goes into the black bit this way, and then it goes perpendicularly out, and it hits a red bit, and it reflects off that red bit and goes back into the black bit, and then it comes out this way. I mean, you know, there's all kinds of pathways that the force can take in those perpendicular arrangements, and that's why the geometry of the atoms is such a set geometry, is because the angles are kind of created by the direction of the force. So, but I mean, I can't make much sense out of your question or your sentence. For an electron to emit a black force bit perpendicularly, it would presumably bounce off a black matter bit. Again, this doesn't make any sense. Electrons are black matter bits. So I'm caught up. Yay for my side. All right, so let me see. There's the video window. Let's see, it's 23 viewers. Well, it's not terrible. Not outstanding, but I could almost live with it. Depending on the viewers start typing more than viewing less. So anyway, but yeah, the last couple of videos, I think I've done a fairly good job on those individual subjects. And some are kind of complex subjects that I'm incorporating, with a pretty rational explanation for why their assumptions going into these experiments are completely wrong. And how, if you look at this conservationally, you can sort of understand that you can't, I mean, this is really a fundamental thing. Like when they talk about these electrons going into any of these experiments, they should always be obliged to preface it with the point that electrons only move when you keep pushing them. That there's no free movement of electrons. They only move a tiny distance on their own. Like when you eject an electron from matter, it only goes a tiny distance. It doesn't go very far at all. And such. So we'll see if it'd be nice if I get a response from, don't much like her name much, whatever it is, Looking Glass Universe. But it is kind of revealing in the sense that it does point out that the universe from the quantum mechanical point of view is kind of Alice in Wonderland, bizarre, kind of upside down and backward. Lots of stuff talking that shouldn't be. All the intelligence in the wrong places. It's like quantum mechanics has all the all the features, all the capacities are all in the little force bits, and the matter bits are just, we don't do nothing. Which is sort of true, because the force is the only thing moving, but I mean, they give all the fancy movements to the bits that are supposed to just be going in straight line from point A to point B, and somehow those bits have all these magic powers. And the complex structure of the matter, which contains the force and the electrons and the protons and all this complexity, that stuff isn't doing anything. It's completely moot. It's not worthy of consideration as a player in the two-slit experiment or anything else. Or the single surface experiment. I gotta keep harping on that too. That single surfaces also create an interference pattern. All right, I'm about to learn about constant force and the kinematic equations. Okay. Yeah, I don't know in what context constant force. I don't know what, obviously there's circumstances where you keep applying a force like a voltage, but I don't know exactly what context they're teaching it in that way. But, it should be interesting in the terms of just recognizing that the whole universe could be kinematic. Do photons always have to be included? Do photons always have to be included the drag? It's not too good a sentence. Oh, it's Tyler. Oh, gee. Yeah. I don't know what you sent me, frankly. You said object the art or something, or frisbee. I don't know what the hell it is. I already got enough of my own crappy art, but whatever. Anyway, hitting the reflection of matter bits, etc. So I don't know what that's saying. In other words, thank you, because those words sucked. Are photons the foundation to conservational energy manufactured in Earth? Nothing's manufactured in the Earth. So I don't know what the fuck. No is the answer to that. No, the Earth doesn't manufacture. Anyway, like projectile motion. Most of these things are best understood, if you can put them in space, and then just have nothing, try to create a vacuum and then isolate the movements. Because that's when it sort of gets interesting, is to understand how momentum works when, you hit something in space. Like, you have a frisbee and you hit it, the edge of it, and it just spins, stuff like that. And, to understand the difference between hitting it on its center of gravity, where the whole frisbee moves, and hitting it on the edge where it just spins. All that kind of stuff is interesting. But it's not very applicable to particles. So I hate the way they keep, as I pointed out in the video, this use of the word particle to describe a photon, an electron, or an atom. They're not anything like each other, in terms of their properties. So there's no point in calling them all particles, because they can't ever have the same properties. They'll never have the same properties. They function entirely differently. The force bits are force, always moving the speed of light, never stopping. The matter bit, electron, doesn't have any free momentum, can't do anything but accelerate, can never have velocity. They're fundamentally different. For you to say a black bit is emitted, it would have to have been trapped in the electron. Is this true? No, it's being exchanged. So in a sense, if it has an extra one going this way, then it gave up something going that way. The argument could be made. And what it's doing is just recollecting the one going this way and giving back this one. Well, not giving it back. Probably got to be a better way to say that. So you can sort of understand when it absorbs it, then this force bit doesn't go where it was going. So that's easy to understand. If the force bit goes in and stuck in matter, matter moves much slower than the force does. So this force bit doesn't go where it was going. So you can understand the shadow effect. That's really easy. The point is now when I decelerate this thing, that is, I give back this extra, okay, what's essentially going to happen is I'm going to convert it. Something coming in from this direction will now be exchanged. This will bend this way, and this will be, what's the other direction it can go? If these two hit this way, one goes this way, one goes this way. Yeah, I don't think it releases anything forward, so I have to think that through. It does get complicated, so I'm probably just missing something obvious. But the point is the exchange happens from the external field. So what the matter bit is constantly doing is making exchanges with the force outside the electron. So the electron's in here. The force goes in. It can absorb a hunk. For every piece that it absorbs, it has to give away something. And then when it gives this back, it also has to give away something. It absorbs something. I'm sorry. So what it's doing is it absorbs this to give this. And that's the imbalance. So now there's less red going where it was going. No, it's not going to absorb a red. That's wrong. The red just go this way and the black goes out this way. Yeah, so the force leaves this way. The red goes this way. Okay. That's what happened. The red bit hits the black bit. The red bit goes out the front. The black bit goes out the side. That's it. Okay. Knew I was getting something wrong. All right. I mean, I definitely have to diagram this a lot more explicitly. I'm just saying I'm giving you the general principle. For you to say black bit is made, you have to, okay, no. So anyway, so it's not about collecting a whole bunch of these force bits. It's just about making exchanges with the field and changing. Say if it only had one bit going each direction, you're just basically changing it so it could exchange the one bit it has going this way for this way. So now it has two bits going this way, no bits going this way, and one bit going that way, which means it'll tend to go this way. And that's why electrons don't fly very straight either. So anyway, let's try this. This is the next one. For you to say, okay, we already did that. How can it accelerate but not have velocity? You just have to understand the term velocity and accelerate. The only velocity it can have has to be current acceleration. It can't add to its velocity. So like if it was falling like from a cloud down to the earth, it would only go 10 meters per second. It could never go any faster. It would just go the acceleration speed. It can't add to the speed because it keeps losing everything it gains. There's force hitting it from the sides that keep balancing its force. So it keeps getting rebalanced. So at every second, it has to keep getting accelerated. And so it can never gain velocity. So velocity is a word used to describe something, generally speaking, after it's been accelerated, not during its acceleration. Clearly, it's a velocity. But the point being made is it's a velocity entirely made of acceleration. There's no cumulative momentum. There's just the momentum of the acceleration. Hopefully that explains it. Do electron levels exist in your theory? Yes, but they're geometry. So square, hexagon, octagon, octagon. So it all has to do with, I've sort of drawn this picture before, but I'll draw it again. Shouldn't be too complicated. It's all about geometry inside of atoms, and the electrons are not spinning around. So the point would be is that the electrons are in positions and their force is equal between them. And then the proton is in some orientation to those 5 positions. That's all creating an attraction force. So when an atom, it's a very poor drawing, we'll make it the house configuration. But anyway, the point would be is that all these forces would be equal between the electrons. And this attraction force would also be equal between all the electrons and the proton. And so the point is this electron can't go closer because that would increase the pressure between these two electrons. They would get closer together, and it can't get any closer because that's too much pressure. So it wants to go closer, but it can't, because it can't get closer to both of these electrons, too much pressure. Now, this pressure is also tending to push it away, but this attraction is pushing it towards. So it's essentially locked in tension. So all of these are in tension. So they have to be hit a certain way to knock them free. So if you want to knock one of these electrons out, you have to hit it into the pressure, create more pressure over here, let's say, and then that pressure will rebound and it'll fly out. And so the idea is if you hit it with certain kinds of light, you only pressurize it a little bit, it'll bounce back. But you have to hit it hard enough where you hit it with 2 tons in the right frequency, then you'll hit it deeper into this pressure with this electron, and then the rebound pressure will shoot it out. So it's a tipping point argument that I've used, but you could also use it as a compound pressure argument. But that's how everything's locked together. You can't go closer and you can't go further away. There's nowhere for the electron. It's just locked in a magnetic position. And you could sort of illustrate with regular little magnets, little flat magnets, if you put them between 2 pieces of glass so the magnets can't flip over. And you have all the magnets of the same polarity facing, they'll all repel, and you'll see what I'm talking about. All right. Do electron level, we already did that. But it's, let's see if there was more to the question. Is there explanation in your theory different from the one in conventional physics? Clearly very different. But it's a black force bit. It's exchanging direction with a red force bit. Yes. Yes, that's part of the function of the matter bits, is that it allows black bits and red bits to interact. That's the whole. That's why the red bit goes perpendicular. Is essentially it's hitting a black bit to do it, in theory. Let's see. Changing around a red bit force. Yeah, so I think that's meant electron shells. Well, electron shells are the same thing as electron energy levels. You said force on force can't interact. Only inside of the matter bit. I mean, Jesus. Yes, force can't interact with force. The conduit is the matter bit. The matter bit allows the force to interact with the force, even in the simplest way, where you can understand that ping pong ball hits cue ball. Cue ball moves. I bounce more ping pong balls this way. Cue ball moves that way. What's really happening is the cue ball isn't doing anything. The ping pong balls are really interacting with each other through the matter bit. But if there was no matter bit, nothing happens, because all the reflections are perfect reflections. You can't see the difference between things hitting each other and things missing each other. That's kinetics. 2 things hitting each other looks exactly like 2 things missing each other when they're of the same color. You could never tell an interaction from a non-interaction. The universe, if they hit, would look exactly like the universe where they missed. All right. No electron clouds. No. The clouds are just an illusion of the fact that the atoms move and shudder. Everything's in tension, and there's always energy hitting it from different directions. So everything's shuddering, but there's no clouds. So when they say a probability, blah, blah, a cloud of probability, that just means that the atom at any one moment could be in any of these positions. Okay, but it's not really the electrons spinning around. It's just the positions can rotate. I have to check sometime to see what they do with what happens to the orbitals when they supercool something. Because I wonder if they make those orbitals, if they change the probability of those orbitals when you create superconductors and such. Because in my theory, clearly you would. The probability of where the atom's going to be, or where the electron's going to be in the atom, as you make it colder and colder, there's less movement, and it would be a smaller and smaller probability of where the electron actually is. Yes, a cloud of probability. So essentially, could that prove alternate realities? No, fuck you. There's no cloud. There's no alternate realities. So whatever. I just pointed out how there's no electron clouds. And then you say, yeah, a cloud of probability. So essentially, could that prove alternate realities? I just don't even, maybe it can prove talking bears. I mean, it's just such crap. Alternate realities. Where does any of this physics point to an alternate reality? None of it points there. People go there because they want to go there. None of the facts point to the existence of alternate dimensions or alternate realities. None of them. It's just such fucking baby talk. I didn't really understand your explanation of acceleration, so I don't know how you keep missing this one. Are you arguing that velocity only exists when something isn't accelerating? No. I'm arguing that electrons never have velocity that isn't acceleration. So if they're not being constantly pushed, they're not moving, and they're only moving the speed of the push. So if you increase the voltage, you increase their speed because you're hitting them with more stuff. But they don't have any velocity where, like the space shuttle, you push it with one force consistently, one force, 2 Gs, let's say, and it travels faster and faster and faster and faster. Even though you didn't make the force any bigger, it goes faster and faster and faster and faster because it's absorbing the force and holding it. It's keeping it. It's not giving it back. It's not acceleration. It's not feeding only on acceleration. It's fed on past acceleration, and it kept it. It didn't give the acceleration back. So it kept it. I don't know, this doesn't seem like that hard a concept. I mean, you're pretty, generally speaking, you seem pretty smart. I'm just saying most of the things we talk about in terms of having velocity are things like this pen, which if I throw it into space, it could fly all the way to the moon. An electron can't. It can't hold its velocity because its velocity is made out of acceleration. If you stop accelerating it, it stops moving. It has no permanent motion. So if I could use the word velocity to describe permanent motion and use the word acceleration to describe temporary motion, something like that. The Danish guy can't grasp the principle of minimum energy. I don't grasp it stated that way. Thermodynamics 101, my dude. That's just rude. Dude. Boy. You made a distinction between matter bits. Hopefully that's what that says. Matter butts, but they're bits actually, and force bits. Saying force bits can't interact with force. Yes, that can't change unless you say force bits can convert into matter bits. So this is just stupid. I made it as clear as you can make it. I mean, I said it over and over and over again. The matter bit is a conduit. The force bit are out here. All right, and essentially they can exchange for something that's in here. All right, as a bit of directionality. All right, okay, but this doesn't do anything but what this causes it to do. The force bits in the free world can't interact with each other in any way you could notice because only black bits can hit black bits and only red bits can hit red bits. And every single interaction will be invisible. I mean, how many times I have to say this? I mean, I've drawn pictures of it on the website. I mean, I can draw the picture again right here. I mean, if I cover, if these, look, I mean, yeah, I just do it that way, the arrow thing. If 2 arrows go in and 2 arrows come out, if the 2 arrows that go in are the same color, right? This one goes in, this one goes in, they hit each other, and they're the same color. You could never tell whether they hit each other or they miss each other. There's no way to tell. And it's only when you have one's red and you cause it to go 90 degrees and this one's black and you cause it to go 90 degrees that you could tell there was an interaction, that you could tell the difference between hitting and missing. And the matter bits are what allows the red bits to interact with the black bits. Fuck. If you can't get this right, you're just not going to get any of this shit, frankly. I mean, you know, you understand quantum theory, you understand bent space, you understand warp dimensions, you understand multiverse bullshit, and you can't understand this? I don't think you understand any of that other shit. I think you just believe it for no good reason, because they say so. All right. Anyway, force bits matter bits, that can't change unless you say force bits can convert into matter bits. Again, it's just nonsense. No. What is the orbit style of the electron? What's a style? There's no, I made it, I stated it explicitly. There's no fucking orbit anything. Aren't the probability clouds? No, there's no probability. I'm pointed out clearly. I mean, I drew the picture of it. I showed it right to the camera. Where's the picture of the fucking, the bad picture of the atom? I mean, I showed it right to the camera. I go, look. They're in positions, the electrons. They're locked in a position. Now, this whole thing could rotate technically, but who cares? It would have to rotate because something gave it momentum. And even if you gave it momentum, as I've pointed out, electrons can't maintain momentum, so they'll stop turning. The point is they're locked in positions. So when there's a shared electron, it's actually shared. It doesn't go around this atom and then go around this atom and then go around this atom and then go around this atom. No, it's physically shared. There's another atom using the same electron to make its hexagon. Oh, shit. Sorry, but this sometimes just get too stupid. Clouds, because the fact that the electron fly all around. No, again, this is just such bullshit. They don't fly anywhere. They have no explanation. Again, there's no evidence electrons can maintain velocity. You can't take an electron out to the edge of space and then throw it at the moon and it goes to the moon. Electrons don't act like this pen. They don't act like a wrench. They don't act like a space shuttle. You can't make them move and keep moving. You have to keep pushing them. So how the hell could they possibly orbit something forever and ever, go spinning around in an atom forever and ever 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 when they can't hold a velocity? All right. So you can't detect absolute position in space. Let me read this last part. Primarily because of the fact that the electrons fly all around a nucleus and they can't detect absolute positions in space. It's not a question. There aren't any probability clouds. They're just made up this model of solar system atom. It's not a solar system. It's geometry. And it's frankly probably pretty square geometry. It's probably not even circular geometry. They just have the wrong definition of an atom. It's all geometry, but it's not moving geometry. It's just vibrating. Gary, these lame brains are equivocating force and acceleration. Well, that's not too bad a thing to do. Force causes acceleration. If you have an imbalance in force, the matter bit will move. That will happen. Everyone understands that, but if attach the property of matter bits and force bits, then symmetry isn't preserved. It's just such a horseshit sentence. Nobody could even understand what that means. But this doesn't challenge conservation or symmetry in any way whatsoever. We already know that electrons don't fly straight. I mean, fuck. They have to be held in magnetic fields to go where you want them to go. Quit insulting people trying to learn this. No, well, there's a certain insult that's allowed because all of this, they want personal instruction. I've made over like 800 videos. I have a link in the description, probably not of this video, to playlist, the overview videos. It explains a lot. The last video I made was a clear explanation of a lot of this stuff. I just don't understand this. I have to accept, again, the point is if you can't understand the simple argument I'm making that electrons have to be constantly pushed by a force to move, that motion is very different from this pen flies across the room. Those two things are very different, even though this pen did crash, but we know if the gravity didn't knock it down, it would have just kept going. And it's very different. Velocity and acceleration in that sense are very different. Things traditionally called things with velocity are things that maintain their motion even when you quit accelerating them. To understand that there's a difference between things that have to be constantly pushed and things that acquire energy, that gain it, that trap it, that capture it, like space shuttles. I am offended. Well, I don't really give a shit. You know, you keep pushing my buttons and I'll push a button on you, buddy. Be offended by that. Write a book, right? Like the videos aren't more interactive and, you know, just as good. And who writes a book called Draft Physics? Again, I'm writing this as I'm making it right now. I'm writing the book, essentially. The whole thing is a work in process, douchebag. So just fuck you. Ask me to get more pissed off. Just go ahead. Push my buttons, shithead. And I'll give you what you want. I'll block you. Gary is a physics lion. If you cannot handle his bite, you're just another quantum gazelle he wants to make a meal out of. Well, it's probably a decent enough metaphor. But frankly, I have videos called question videos. If you think you're an authority on physics, just answer my question videos that no one has answered yet. Not a single comment on the video answering the simple questions. All right, your base axioms are simple, but I've yet to see you apply these things in any systematic, predictable. Again, this predictable. What the fuck are you talking about? It matches fucking Maxwell's equations. How is that? How is that not failing to do exactly what it has to do? The theory fits perfectly. It does gravity perfectly. It does magnetism perfectly. Okay, and it explains the nuclear forces almost perfectly. And you're saying somehow I failed the test. No, that's exactly the test you have to pass, is it has to fit the evidence. And it fits the evidence really, really well. Oh, God damn. Jesus. Let's see. Your base axioms are too simple, but I've yet to see you apply these things in any systematic, predictable. Again, what would that predictable way be beyond matching the evidence? Amazing. I see. I was assuming electrons behaved in a Newtonian sense. No, electrons cannot, only atoms, technically only the helium nuclei can actually absorb force and gain true velocity. So only the helium nuclei. If I wanted to find the smallest thing I could stand out in space and throw to the moon, and it'll actually get to the moon, the smallest thing that'll do that is a helium nucleus. Nothing else will make it. Yes, to move at a constant velocity after being pushed, it essentially means you had to capture the energy. And I've metaphored that to like the space shuttle because it's such an obvious illustration. A big giant flame is going out of the ass of the thing. And you have to think in terms of the equal but opposite reaction. And the equal but opposite reaction is essentially a big giant flame that's essentially going inside the shuttle. And you don't see it leaking out anywhere. You don't see all that energy flying out of the shuttle somewhere. So it must be just absorbing it, like the bad guy in the X-Men, story. The bad guy who just absorbed energy. It's just like that. It absorbs the energy. It owns it. It possesses it. And so it has essentially a flame going this way inside of it. And it holds it inside of it. So it just keeps getting accelerated by that flame that it still has inside of it because it never let it go. All right. Let's see. I've yet to see an honest to God derivation of Maxwell's equations. Well, they sort of speak for themselves. They're very good generalizations. I mean, there are no perfect equations, So, but I don't know, what do you want to do to them? They're very good at giving you an equity between the density of the magnetic field or the charge density and its effect. So the equations describe what the effect will be on a charge very well. So what else do you want to do? And what else do the Maxwell equations have to do besides describe what the effect is of a force? Force in, effect out. Maxwell's equations do it correctly. What else is it supposed to do? See, sad one. I don't even know why you would want to derive every single. I mean, that's all you people like to do is derive equations. You never want to solve equations. You just want to derive them. Keep turning. Let's dress it up in a Barbie pink hat. No, let's put it in a Barbie blue hat. No, let's put it in a Barbie purple hat. You're just dressing up the equation over and over again, putting new clothes on it. It's the same fucking equation. You're just fucking dressing it differently. What's the point of that? You're supposed to do something with the equations. You're not supposed to just keep deriving them. But anyway, sadly, no one who doesn't know them can really check the claim one way or the other. Well, I just don't understand where you have evidence of the math failing, except in certain circumstances that everybody knows they fail. Where you start involving infinite planes or when you start making things really close, right? So Maxwell's equations are all based on inverse square law and all that kind of crap. And all of that disappears when you start bringing charges very close to each other. There's no more inverse square law. It's no longer point particle. So you have to kind of understand at a distance, they're all point particles. But close up, they're not. They're big, thick, fat things. They're not point particles anymore. So in that sense, it will fail. It can't do really close interactions between two charges or between a magnet and a conductor. So if you get everything really close, Maxwell's fucked. But once you start having any kind of distance at all, the inverse square law kicks in and it works fine. I'm surprised if you want to point out some bad equations, again, like on my 3 questions videos, why not explain Einstein's rigging of the math where he pretends photons are in the gravity twice as long because they think they are, because they're time dilated and they think it's taking twice as long, that they're actually getting hit by twice as much gravity and that they don't have any height. So therefore, the inverse square law doesn't apply to photons. So the inverse square law will apply if it's an electron, but if I put a photon in space, somehow there's no inverse square law because somehow the photon lost one of its dimensions. I mean, you want to find bogus math, that's bogus math. and such. So 23 viewers, not great. You know, I gotta find the, well, anyway, I gotta, have to go out and buy some viewers, see how that works out. Let's see. The point about the inverse square law actually has an intuitive explanation. I don't know what that means. I think it's an obvious explanation. As I just pointed out, the force doesn't spread when you're close up. There's no spreading when you're close enough. If I have two pieces of glass like this right next to each other, the angles, it's almost the same idea as two. If you think of those as two charged plates, I've essentially created an infinite plane for all of the electrons except the ones right at the edge. So for all the electrons not on the edge, this is essentially an infinite plane, in that there's no way at any angle the force won't hit this other face. So absolutely none of the force can escape for all of these electrons along this surface. So there's no inverse square law for any of those electrons. All of their force will hit the other plate. That's what the inverse square law implication is. If I separate them, then you can understand that a ton of the force won't hit the other plate. Let's see. I don't think you have explained how the force bits make gravity and magnetism. Yeah, you're not paying any attention then. I mean, honest answer from the other guy. Have I explained it over and over again quite well? Yes, I have. I don't know how it doesn't go together. It's a polarized force. Magnets filter the force. It's exactly the same force. Gravity works exactly the same way for the magnet. It's just that the input into the magnet is gravity. So it's being affected by gravity. The output from the magnet is polarized. So what it's expelling is polarized. It doesn't affect the magnet to polarize it. The magnet didn't have to do anything. The magnet's not work for the magnet. The magnet's just saying force came in, gravity. I converted it into red and black. And so now when something's next to me, if it's sensitive to the difference between red and black, it's going to react because I've segregated the force. I've filtered it. So I took something unfiltered, I filtered it. Now something that's also sensitive to filtered force is going to be highly affected, like it's triple gravity or quadruple gravity, because now it's going to get segregated force. Of course, it's just this. Well, anyway, bro, you're hopeless. You haven't listened hard enough. I don't really know what this. You really live your life moment to moment. I don't know. Do I? How would I tell? What does that even mean? I can't, I mean, how do you test for that? What's the test for living moment to moment? I have a feeling I won't pass the test. Everybody ought to go to Piero's channel. He's doing marvelous videos, about great ideas like we should break the United States into 3 different idiotic countries. Moronica, Idiotica, and Fuctardia. And we'll be such a great nation then. 3 little Balkan countries that hate each other's guts. It would work out so great. I can just imagine how well we'll get along as different nations. All the welfare nation full of welfare whores. So all the welfare whores run from the other 2 countries to go live in the welfare whore country. And then all the people living in the welfare whore country say, fuck, I gotta get the hell out of here. So they run to either one of the racist nut or gun nut. They say, oh, or Christian nut. Christian nut or gun nut country. Which shithole should I take just to get away from welfare whore? I mean, it's just such a stupid idea. No chance that would work. But anyway, that's off subject, so fuck that bullshit. More physics. Let's go, people. I'm here for you. Which, of course, I'm not, but challenge me. Come on. Defend your fable. So has anyone ever taken a serious look into your theory, into the details? No, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find a serious person. Instead, I have a bunch of lunatics in the room. But yes, I have to try to get a real physicist and, put a chain around his nuts and force him to answer some questions. Or I could, try to politely interact with that whatever physics girl thing, and we'll see how that works out. But yes, I've tried bribing them. I've tried all kinds of things. Nothing really works. I didn't try to bribe this new physics chick. So maybe I'll see what her price is. Maybe for a couple of grand, she would be willing to spend, say, 4 hours, 3 hours watching videos and getting up to speed on my theory, and then spend 1 hour pointing out how it has to be wrong. So maybe she'll take me up on it. Who knows? Well, look, there's some people in this room who are starting to get it. I mean, that whatchamacallit guy, who I keep forgetting his name because his icon is distractingly retarded. Some sort of person sitting down or something. Homo sapien? No, it's not him. Yeah, Homo sapiens. That's the guy. He's getting it. I converted some other guy, admitted in the comments that I get it. So there's a couple of people who are getting it. Did Dr. Jack Kevorkian, oh shit, have any thoughts on physics? I don't recall any. I remember seeing him get interviewed, and he talked about numerous subjects. He had his own TV show for a while. It was kind of interesting, a talk show about life and stuff. And so that did have some shit in it. But I don't know if he ever got onto physics. I just don't remember. Okay, so you're saying magnets are forced together by the same pressure that causes gravity. Yes, and they're only forced together because the one magnet and the other magnet are showing each other reverse poles, which means red energy is coming out and it's hitting black, which means it comes out perpendicularly. It doesn't create any pressure. And the black energy is hitting the red, which means it comes out perpendicular. It doesn't create any pressure. So there's no pressure between the magnets, and the gravity pressure is still on the outside pushing them together. So they're not really attracted. They're inversely repelled in the sense that, yes, it's the absence of pressure that forces them together. So let's see. But the alignment of the magnet material makes it possible to create pressure between the objects. Right. So when they're facing the same poles, that is black against black and red against red, then black energy is reflecting back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All of it is stuck. And all of the red energy is stuck. So the closer you're bringing them together, the more they're bouncing. So like little ping pong balls of punches, the punches come faster and faster and faster and faster. So the pressure gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. Yes, very simple. Incredibly simple. Okay. If you weren't a mess, I'd get it. Well, that's just useless. Again, this whole write a book. I have the website. I have done some writing. Again, the idea that you think in the real world everybody reads books is absolutely idiotic. And the idea that you think, again, this is draft physics. It's really hard. It covers every bit of physics, right? It's not just one subject like cosmology or one redshift, or it's not just one subject. It unifies all of fucking physics. And, you know, again, they're always writing on the fucking website. Half of it's quite good. The pictures are excellent, actually. Fuckhead. I know get. A brilliant sentence. You will get blocked soon enough. You're just being obnoxious. A second reference to the fucking stupid idea that I write a book. This isn't about writing a book. It's about making an argument. And I've done that, and I've done it very well. Yes, well, he's heard the words filtered gravity about 7 million times, and he's just not going to get it, okay? Just, it eludes him. The idea of filter. Filter? What do you mean it's filtering? Oh, you mean the energy is coming from the external world and it's just filtering it? Oh, that's where the energy comes from? See, he's just not going to do it because he just doesn't understand that the current theory has no energy in it. It has virtual bullshit. This theory has actual energy. It has an actual explanation for where the energy comes from, where the movement comes from. So yes, he can't get it because I have energy in my theory. And you have to have a theory with no energy in it, or he can't understand it. It has to be magical. So if I don't have magic in it, he can't understand it. I see why you say you could just mathematically account for the pressure part. But then do the simulation with just the particles making things deviate. But whatever that means. Yeah, whatever. Why does anti-Gaia? I don't want to hear about this. Keep posting the video of the guy who needs rent money. I guess he wants to get the guy some rent money. I mean, seems like a reasonable cause. The guy seems relatively intelligent and articulate. He's got a crappy $10 an hour job, working suicide hotline or something he doesn't even want to do. You know, it is a pretty sad story. I'd give him money if I had it, but I don't have it, so I can't give it to him. To be clear, you think the pressure is from a cloud, oh, fuck you, of force bits, yes? Yes, the same cloud of force bits that creates the cosmic background radiation. So let's call that a cloud of magical force bits then. Yes, but it'd be the same idea, just a lot more than the cosmic background radiation because it's full of gravity, something we can't detect except by watching things do this. Right? We don't have any other way to detect it except to watch things do this. You know, except by watching things do this, it's the only way we can detect it. So yes, everywhere I go in space, I can watch things doing that. And I'll say, oh, there's gravity here. Because that's the way it works. There's gravity everywhere. Everywhere there's matter, there's gravity. Surprise, surprise. So annoying. We've already been over this bit. I even explained to you that the whole universe could be a bubble, a little round bubble, and that all the photons that leave the universe, there's a zillion of them, right? Photons that never hit another galaxy or never hit another thing. They just fly through space. Theoretically, you could understand that those photons hit the bubble and bounce back as gravity. They lose their frequency. So there's still force, but they don't have a frequency anymore. And that would be an explanation for why the force continues to exist. Another explanation is the universe is really a smoke ring from the Big Bang. and that we're still in the smoke ring, which means we're still in the part that has a lot of gravity, a lot of background radiation. But lots of ways of explaining where the background radiation comes from. You don't have to turn it into no cloud fairy story. Look, your cynicism is just every one of your comments just reeks of your cynicism. You have no honest interaction here. You know, you don't believe it. Fine. Go believe in your unicorns. But I mean, I've gone to tedious lengths to explain it to you, and none of it, you just accept none of it. You just come back with the same rhetoric 2 days later and ask the same dopey questions 2 days later. It's a futile pursuit. I'm just saying cloud doesn't describe nobody would call the cosmic background radiation a cloud of radiation, would they? I've never seen anybody do that. Cloud is a thing over here or a thing over there. Cloud just doesn't say it. So I'm just saying, you're saying it's a perfectly normal use of the word cloud when, in my opinion, it isn't, because nobody says the cloud of cosmic background radiation. Nobody does that. Seems very articulate, but his temperament is like a kook. Well, fine. That's what it is. Einstein's temperament was pretty kooky. Everybody's temperament is kooky. Everybody, by somebody's definition. I'm pointing out how Pierrot's temperament is quite irrational. Venus, penis vagina, she is completely kooky. Let's see, I feel like Gary is such a sweet guy. Yeah, well, you know, hard on the outside, you know, a little bit mushy on the inside. He makes me want to give him a big hug. Yes, well, I get that from a lot of women. I am huggable. Well, for something that is everywhere, often we say a field of particles, which I'm not offended by, but that's not what you said. So what's the point? But that would bother you even more, I figure. No, I'm perfectly comfortable with the word field when you're describing a field of bullets, for example, or a field of soldiers, or a field of tanks. Yes, that's fine with me. It's just as when you say field of nothing, that's when we're in trouble. Fields have to be of something. Your base ideas are dirt simple, but anything beyond that is just gibberish. That doesn't say anything. I mean, the base ideas have gone into great complexity about function. Yes, there's 4 rules. I mean, there's only a very simple rules. 2 force bits, 2 matter bits. They're polarized. The matter bits filter the polarization of the force bits. That's all quite simple to diagram. But obviously, all the interactions on the nuclear front, on the magnetic front, on the electrical front, and on the gravitational front, all of that is not all that fucking simple. And I've gone into pretty substantial detail describing how each one of those things work. So fuck your silly paraphrase, gibberish brain. Fuck you and your gibberish. Anytime someone, I mean, fuck, I could just go on and on about all the gibberish in your conventional theory, you fucking mushhead, your fucking entangled particles, your fucking wooey bent space, your fucking time dimensions, your fucking multiverse, your fucking dark energy, your fucking dark matter. You're so full of gibberish, for fuck cunting's sake. Your goddamn anti-particles that fucking Susskind admits aren't really particles. I mean, you're just so full of fucking shit, cunt. Anyway, anyone tries, anytime someone tunes, whatever that is, trues to point out what? Where's the example, fuckhead? You don't have any proof of your fucking accusation. Where have you shitheads made a rational point? You're not making one in this fucking comment, douche. You go back to your simple axioms. Yeah, that's right. Everybody goes back to them because that's what governs the universe, shithead, are the simple laws. The inverse square law, the idea there's two force bits, the idea that the red bits go perpendicular and the back bits rebound, whatever the right word is, reflect. Yeah, they're the simple fucking rules, shithead. Of course I go back to them because they're the only way this fucking checkerboard works. The checkerboard only has simple rules. You can't jump 2 spaces forward. You can only jump over something diagonally to go 2 spaces. There's certain rules, you stupid shit. Oh, fuck. And say, oh, you don't get the symmetry thing. Well, whatever. Fuck you. Fuck you. It's not an argument, douche. Your crappy paraphrase. And again, you can't even answer 3 simple fucking questions, cunt. All right. I think you can have a field made of distance. Well, you think so. I don't. So fuck that. Obviously, distance would contain the background radiation. Okay. So yes, you can't find any truly empty distance that is space, but there is empty space between the particles of force. The tanks are individual tanks in the field of tanks, and they're separated by real empty space. That is distance, but it's empty distance. Oh, I just hate this fucking bullshit. All right. Chill out. Fuck you. No, I mean, I've been putting up with trolls and nonsense for fucking 7 years from you douchebags, 6 years, whatever it is. I ain't chilling out. Fuck you. Make an argument or go fucking to hell. Yeah, period. Make a physical, real argument. Cite evidence. Cite something on the subject. Talking about how big my nose is real fucking irrelevant. All right. Also, I think you should acknowledge that understanding your idea takes time. Yeah, that's right. It's fucking physics, douchebag. Yeah. And you're not willing to put in the time. So that's the problem. If you want to understand, you're going to have to do a little bit of work because it's physics. It's not fucking coloring book. All right. It's a little more complicated than coloring book. And since you are working on it, you should not assume my questions are destructive to it. You are explaining it. Yeah, I know, but we've been over it and over it and over it. So again, you're just so redundant. I don't have to comment to agreeing with you to be generally interested in how your ideas go together. Again, I just don't think you're generally interested. You're generally interested in me personally tutoring you. You're not generally interested in dealing with the arguments that I've made in videos over and over again. Your physics lady or guy is getting more expensive per expletive. I don't even know what that means. You've been laughed at. Get over it. I don't even know what that means, but fuck you. You get over it. You drop dead. There. As a personal favor to me. Get nut cancer, you fucking cunt. Well, I'm just saying, Peter, I've been over this so many times. And like I said, even though the website is imperfect on magnetism, it has 3 forces instead of just red and black. It has a neutral one that's completely unnecessary. The diagram is so obvious. Force goes in, mixed. Force comes out, not mixed. And you forced me to explain that again. I mean, I've done it in so many videos, and I've done it on the website. I mean, it's just, I shouldn't have to keep explaining it. The problem is that bent space-time is the extent of your knowledge. I don't know what that could possibly mean. Of the subject. Again, how is that the extent of my knowledge when I've just gone over spin in a video? Clearly, I know something about that too. I mean, you're just such a cunt. I mean, you're just asking me to block you, right? Because this is just trolling. And who can understand bent space-time? Again, do you actually believe that they saw gravitational waves because 3 solar masses of material stuff, matter, was converted into bent space? You think that's really possible, that you can convert matter into bent space? Fucknut. God, such cunts. I want you pussies to defend your fucking fairy story. You have a fairy story of reality. I've pointed out 3 simple flaw questions. All right, a video called Questions. 3 questions on 3 different little subtly related but subjects. Why don't you answer one of those fucking questions if you are superior knowledge, which you obviously don't have? Physics is a fucking coward, okay? They've never allowed, they won't even allow you on forum pages to discuss the foundation, their axioms, their religion, the source of their religion. You can't even point out that a dog wrote their Bible. You know, that's how closed-minded these fuckers are. I mean, there's not one physicist doing this. Not one single physicist has an open room and says, go ahead, challenge me. Not one. Yes, that's right. I think it's idiotic not to recognize that we've pulled a bunch of black stuff out of the ground. That's called carbon. All the oil, all the coal, and we've put it into the atmosphere. And if you don't think that's essentially just putting us backward in time, right? How did all that black stuff get into the ground? A bunch of organisms died, trapping carbon and get buried under the ground. That's called a carbon sink. So a bunch of carbon was sunk, and we've now unsunk it. And if you don't understand that simple argument, you're a fucking idiot. That's not the point, though. How is it not the point? To me, it's the clearest illustration that human beings have substantially changed the carbon signature of planet Earth. And that, in fact, the Jurassic was hot. And that essentially what was different about the Jurassic and now? Well, in the Jurassic, there was no coal in the ground and there was no oil in the ground. That was the big difference. And we're changing the big difference. So if you don't think that's a convincing argument, I'm saying you're pretty stupid. Because to me, all right, it's not slam dunk complete, but it's so obviously big as an argument. It's an obvious difference between Jurassic and now. Oil and coal in the ground. No oil, no coal in the ground. Huge difference between the 2 times, periods. Not counting all the methane frozen in the tundra, right? All the methane frozen as ice under the Arctic. Okay, all that methane probably has the same mass weight as all of the oil and coal. Wait till that stuff gets loose, fucker. All right, let's see. A little abstraction goes a long way. Nice non-statement. Well, again, yes, well, exactly. It was a non-statement. That's all he keeps making is rhetorical fish soup. Pilroy, Strange, Baczynski, Hillary, meh. Well, okay, that's probably enough of you. But we'll just wait a minute and see if it gets worse. Thank you for doing whatever that is. Rubbish, gibberish. $20 minutes. 20-minute warning. Boop, 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 boop. There, that's the 20-minute warning tone. Really, very excited. It's like a bomb going off or something. It's ticking. Ah, nicotine. Thank you, universe. Ah, nice little break. Thank you. No. And such. Hey, we're 31 viewers. All right, we have. Oh, it's going down again though. Anyway, so we're close to peak performance. Very good. But see, 30 viewers isn't any better than 15. You know, more comments when there was 15 viewers. Well, 20. 32, 33. It's zooming. They're all showing up for the dead part where no one's saying anything. It's really cool. Piro, do you think in Mendham or the establishment is right about physics? Well, clearly Piro believes in woo and religion and, you know, whatever, free power will or some other kind of bullshit. So he must keep the unicorns alive because he's feeding on unicorn. He eats unicorn ticks. So without unicorns, he'll starve to death. So he has to say the conventional woo is correct because it's all he's got to hold on to is this hope that there's a magical universe. He doesn't want to hear about how, oh, it's a checkerboard and we're all stupid robots. Oh, fuck. Stupid biological robots. God, what a bad idea. The establishment in physics is lead by theories, whatever that is. There is no theory about what dark matter is or gravity is, etc. Well, clearly there's a theory about gravity, so I don't know what you're talking about. And clearly dark matter is just math glue. It's just God of the gaps glue. So I don't even know why you're bringing up those two stories. Clearly they have a whole wacky theory of gravity. They think they can turn matter into gravity, for fuck's sake. And then detect it on their broken interferometer that isn't really doing what they say it's doing because it's physically impossible for it to do what they say it's doing. However, I believe in the data from the establishment. What data would that be? The interpretation of the experiments that say there's such a thing as a Huygens. You believe in Huygens? You believe in Heisenberg? You believe in all this fairy woo. Magical photons that have magical powers. Whatever, there's just no point. And that shows some things are wrong with Gary's theory. It doesn't show anything. Again, you haven't pointed to a single experiment with which my theory is not compatible, except the wackiest experiments in the history of physics. So go ahead, point me to the experiment that isn't consistent with my theory. I keep pointing out the obvious to you that the gravity lens is the wrong shape. You don't have a counter argument. It's the wrong shape lens. So what? It's the inversion of the lens that you should be using. You have the wrong lens in the telescope, and yet you claim it works as a telescope. I mean, fuck. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's just so bad and so silly that you're saying, how come nobody else saw the obvious, that the lens is the wrong lens in the telescope? However, I believe in that establishment and that it shows the things I'm wondering. It's no wrong in my theory, you fucking liar. You haven't shown a single thing wrong, single inconsistency with any foundational evidence. Wolfram has the idea about the checkerboard universe that's pretty compelling. I don't know who Wolfram is, so not terribly helpful. Well, why aren't you citing any of his arguments then? I mean, if you think it's compelling. Well, we'll have to go look this up, whatever a Wolfram is. And I'll have to make fun of it, but it's surely pure garbage. If Piro thinks it's compelling, it must be absolute wooey mush. Okay, Piro, double slit. I've already explained the double slit. No inconsistency. Quantum erasure is a woo experiment based on completely idiotic assumptions that I have entangled particles, that I can see the entangled particles, that I can measure entangled particles, all a pile of shit. Diffraction in water, where's the inconsistency? There's no inconsistency. See, you're just such a liar. You've demonstrated absolutely no inconsistency between my theory and refraction or reflections in any medium, ever. Newtonian mechanics, bouncing particles, pressure causing gravity mathematically, whatever that is, thought I loved to try it with a 90-degree deal. I don't even know what that means. Again, you keep throwing this into Newtonian circumstances, and it's not about defending Newton. Newton was an incomplete theory, an incredibly incomplete theory. It's a 300-year-old incomplete theory. I'm not defending a 300-year-old incomplete theory. Wolfram wrote Mathematica. Who cares? Wrote a new kind of science. Why didn't I mention it? I do. I have, do you ask? I do. I have, you do, don't ask. I do. I have, you don't ask. So again, like I said, I took down the name. Okay, fine. I'll look it up. You say it's some sort of checkerboard theory. I bet it isn't. I bet you it isn't. Because the only checkerboard theory can possibly work is mine, frankly. You have to put the full polarization in the very beginning of the universe. It has to be, charge has to be in the beginning. Anyway. Pure shit, I imagine. So it's going to be a checkerboard model that won't be any checkers or any checkerboard. It'll just be mathematical mumbo jumbo. I'm not getting 1/3. So again, just another puro preposterous exaggeration. I'm not getting 1/3 of the words wrong. At best, it's, you know, what, 4% at best. Yeah, well, it's not 1/4. 4% isn't 1/4. You can't even do this basic math, and yet you think you're a physicist. Ugh. Where does the electrical charge come from in any given electron? The electrons are monopole, the magnetic monopole. Its charge doesn't come from anywhere. It emits, okay? It filters force, and therefore something else that's charged will be able to see that filtering because it'll be more sensitive to it. It'll either attract or repel. It's a filter. The electron is a filter. what comes in goes out a special way. Damn. The last video I made on spin, I gave a whole explanation of how the mechanics of the monopoles work. So, 12-minute warning. Bing, bing, bing. Yeah, that's the sound for the 12-minute warning. Like I implied previously, which is probably crap, as you wrongly paraphrased previously, you have nothing but an ad hoc stacked on top of ad hoc. Again, I don't, so I'm just blocking you. I mean, clearly, I have drawings, I have explanations, it's all there. It's just such a pile of shit lie, you fucking cunt. So just go as I suggested. Go fucking die, you piece of dirt. You lying piece of dirt. I mean, shit. It's just incredible. You sit, like I said, you make hundreds of videos, diagrams after diagram after diagram after diagram after diagram after diagram, and somebody just says it's ad hoc. What the fuck? Again, I have 3 simple questions in the question video. If somebody wants to criticize me, answer those questions first. Then you can insult me. Oh, fuck. Yeah, I mean, you really can't hate people too little. You just can't, Oh, I didn't hate the human race enough, No, yes, that's what you can do. It's not like the opposite you can't do. I mean, they just never accept anything. Just, another illustration of Pyrrho, right? Because the other day I make a simple argument that it's really stupid that we pay people to put solar panels on their roofs because it's a horrible waste of the technology. 50% of the value, the energy that could have been produced is thrown away by implementing it really poorly. And he had to keep rationalizing and justifying. He had to try to make that dead, crippled hippopotamus, into Secretariat. Like it's brilliant. The fastest horse on the track. And it's a fucking crippled fucking field mouse. Too bad Holiday isn't still making videos, because I'd like to see what he had to say about the spin argument I made in the last video, just because it seems so obvious that the machine wipes the spin out. There is no previous condition, because as soon as the electron enters the device, its condition is changed by the device. And so there is no initial condition. It's just so obvious, that it makes the initial condition. The machine creates the initial condition. Let's see. I have published your 3 questions video on a physics forum. Got one answer from a PhD guy, but in Hebrew. Couldn't get the guy to comment on their video. Oh, well, that's really helpful. A Hebrew answer. Cool. I guess you could translate it with Google, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it would probably come out something like, "Fuck you, bastard American cunt." Maybe he quit because you convinced him he has too much pride. Maybe he quit. I don't know who quit. Piro doesn't quit. He just, lies in wait, hides behind trees to pounce out and, make a funny. Go hide behind a tree again. Which device are you referring to regarding spin? Which device? The, Stein Bergenbohr machine or whatever the fuck it is. I forgot the name of it. Stein Duplay or Stein something or other. The fucking whatever. Switch the magnetism back and forth really quick. It's called the Stern something or other. Or Stein something or other. I already forgot, but I know the word right here. It's Goulstein G name, I think. So anyway, it's that thing. It's supposed to measure something, and it's just so ironic because it's so obviously not measuring. It's obviously changing. It's not a measuring device. It's a changing device. It's imposing force. It's not collecting force. It's just so obvious. How can it be measuring when it has no input? It just outputs onto the electron. The electron moves in a direction. It's just obvious the Rube Goldberg machine is Rube Goldberging it. Yeah. 5-minute warning. Yeah, no tone, just a 5 minutes. Piro, you should ask for the link to join the room, the next live stream. Yeah, well, you don't really understand the history between me and Piro. I don't think it would work. Because he, like I said, even if I convince him and he agrees with me completely, 2 days later, he'll deny that ever happened. So it just won't be any point in it. I'll get him to concede. All right, so the evidence is a little weak. 2 days later, nah, he never said that. It's not weak. It's great, brilliant evidence. Jesus bless you, Gary. Well, that's not very interesting. Take your God and shove it up your butthole over and over and over again until you're dead. Yeah. Do that. Just for me. What of an NMR machine? No, I don't know which one that is. Negative something resonance, something, I don't know. They're all never what they exactly described them on as. It's like the positron thing, the positon something or other. It's not really positrons. It's really just they inject radiation. The radiation causes the particles inside the body and just receives the whatever, neutrinos or whatever the fuck it is, whatever they call them. It's just receiving the radiation, but it's not what they claim it to be. There's only theory saying it's one of those things. It's really just electrons, that kind of thing. It's not what they claim it to be. It's really just, beta radiation. I'm just saying, if you want me to go look something up, I'll do it. But please make sure that it's really, really relevant, because I know when I look it up, it's not going to be what you think it is. You know, it never fails not to be a proven science, in the sense that it's not proven it's doing anything with neutrinos. I mean, I think what they call it, a positron, right? They have one called a positronic something or other, and there's no positrons involved. Anyway, I think we're almost done. So take your last shots. Or say goodbye. You know, some either shoot or say goodbye. So anyway, reasonable room, not terrible. Mostly, I mean, not very outstanding when I really added it up, but some of the points were good. I think not horrible. So anyway, so till the next time and such. Okay, so he keeps saying NMR machine. I wish he would just tell me what the fuck the acronym stands for. Well, from my understanding, NMR machines use spin to determine certain compounds. Well, again, I'm just saying they're not using spin. They're just using the fact that electrons move in a field. You know, I don't know what particles they're using, so we don't even know. You know, they've given spin to every kind of particle. They even have spin on photons now. Now, do you really think photons are spinning? Oh, nuclear magnetic resonance. Yeah, well, that's basically just magnetic resonance. So let's not fool ourselves. You know, that's just imaging based on the fact that all the atoms everywhere are, in a sense, capable of being magnetic if you expose them to enough magnetism. In the sense they're going to be moved. But if you want me, like I said, I could look it up and find out exactly how it works, but there's no magic in it. And there's nothing to do with spin. Spin is not a real thing. Spin is a placeholder for momentum. Just a word for momentum. Spin. There's no spin. There's just direction, angular momentum, direction and motion. All right. So anyway, till next time and such and so forth and whatnot. And attempt to have a tolerable till next time. And probably after that would be nice too, but you know, we can only hope. You know, we know we're not going to get that. We're all going to die. Stupid, pointless thing to be doing. All this trouble to learn all this stuff just so I can die. Great. What a great plan. Fuck. Multiverses full of things dying. Great idea. Cool. Not. Anyway, till next time. Till next time. Till next time. Till next time. And such. Well, that's what I gotta do. I got a Mickey Mouse Club. You know, I have a little song to introduce it and a little song to say bye. You know, DRF, however you spell draft, and such, do. Yeah, fuck you, and such and such and such and such. Okay, that's enough now. That was way more than enough, actually. Most of the people missed the great ending. They left early. Yes, make sure you like and subscribe. Yeah. And bell. Hit the stupid little bell. Be a real faggot. Hit the bell. I mean, be a real queer. I mean, be a real pussy. Hit the little faggoty bell. Oh, God, it's so fucking creepy. It's like going all the way back to kindergarten or something. Yuck. Shudder.